I'm running away from you, Jenny.
So,
I'm running away from you, man.
hey cactus friends, it's Jenny from Cookie's Cacti. I am at the house of Cliff, who is one of our CACSS, which is the Central Arizona Cactus and Succulent Society. He's been a member for, how many years have you been a member?
Gosh, I don't know, it's been a while.
Okay, and we are here to show you or give you some tips and tricks on staging plants for any kind of, pretty much any kind of cactus and succulent show. Because the CACSS is having our show, I think it's May 17 through 19 at the Desert Botanical Garden. And for those of you who are CACSS members, you can enter your plants to the show and show off your plant, and we're going to give you some tips on what to do.
Excellent. So I just want to start and ask you a couple questions. Is that okay, Jenny?
Sure.
All right.
Cliff.
Well, first of all, who can show plants in our show?
So my understanding is that any member of the CACSS can show their plant, and we encourage any member to show their plants at the show, because the more folks who participate, the better. If you're in the Phoenix area or in the Arizona area and you're not a member today, definitely get your membership in. There's still time to join the CACSS, and then you can bring your plant in and show it off to everybody.
All right, that's excellent. So tell me, why do we have shows?
I don't know if this is the right answer or not, but I think that we have shows in order to showcase the types of plants and the variety of plants that are out there, and to show how different individuals grow plants in different ways and how it can look in cultivation depending on how you grow them. And then an opportunity, like some of these plants that you have here, to showcase how you can even make a plant look, and also to talk about I've got a couple dogs down here, they're really cute. But also to show how, gosh, I already lost my train of thought.
So you're right, Jenny, to just jump in.
Okay.
When I went to a show, I've seen plants that I'm like, I had no idea there were so many different kinds of cactus or succulents. And I see some and I say, wow, I would love to grow something like this. And there are people there that know how to grow it. And sometimes you go there and you say, Jenny, I got this plant at home, but it doesn't look like that.
Right.
What do I have to do to get a plant to look like that?
Right.
Because it's not easy. There are going to be experts there. They're going to help us figure out exactly how to get our plants better and grow our plants to be better as they go. So why should you, or why should your listeners bring a plant into the show?
To show their own showcase of their favorite plants. Like all of y'all know that I have plenty of plants at home, and it's the ability to go share with folks who have similar interests your own favorite plants. Would you say that's true, Cliff?
Exactly. So I think a lot of people have a plant at home, or many plants at home, that they truly love. And I would like to encourage you to get that plant, do a little bit of prep work on it that doesn't take very long, and bring it into the show. And you'll be surprised. You're not going to be the only person that loves that plant, but a whole lot of people are going to love that plant too. So bring those plants in. So one of the things that this show does is it judges plants. Mm-hmm. Do you know what the criteria are, Jenny,
yes,
for judging the plants?
I'm going to cheat because there's a piece of paper that has the answer on there. So
all right, and let's go through it slowly.
So it looks like the judging scale is, we've got 4 criteria where it's weighted. So it looks like 50% of the score comes from the condition of the plant. And how would you describe that? Are you talking about like the condition in the sense that if it got sunburnt, does that ding it?
One of the things when we talk about conditioning of the plant, we don't mean it has to be perfect.
Okay. That's
if you're an expert grower, you better be bringing in your expert stuff.
Okay.
And your perfect plants. But the rest of them do not have to be perfect. This is a tough place to grow plants, and there are little imperfections. So we're going to show you ways to kind of get around some of that and to do it. But is what people like when they talk about condition. Look at this plant. It's bursting with growth. It looks very full. Look at this plant. It's vibrant, even though it's a mess. It's flowered profusely. It's got all kinds of pups popping out of it. Look at this one. You can see, perhaps, if you get in there, if there's enough detail, I'm not sure, all the new little heads are growing. It's vibrantly growing. The condition of that plant is excellent. This one here is flowering.
Right.
If you got a plant that's close to flowering, bring it in. Everybody loves flower. It's like, wow, that's so great. That's
something
fantastic.
Like this as well, right?
Yeah, like look at this one here. It's getting lots of nice flowers. Are kind of closing up this time. But look at that pot. Oh my, we're gonna have to do some work here, aren't we, Jenny?
A little bit, but
Right.
it is beautiful.
A little bit.
Oh my gosh.
So let's get back to our things here. That's half of it. So the
we got
most
half of
important
it.
thing, condition of the plant. What's the
Okay.
next one?
Difficulty of culture. That's interesting. So a quarter of the score is based off how difficult of a plant it is, like typically how
hard is it to grow?
How hard it is to grow.
So think about that.
Yeah.
Do you have plants and it's within their category? So in other words, if you have an Eriocyce,
Okay.
it's within, if this Eriocyce is harder to grow than this one, then you get more points.
I see.
And if it's harder to get it bigger, you get more points.
Okay.
So that goes down to the degree of
like some of these
things.
plants that we've got examples here, do you kind of have an idea of which of these? I know these are different genus of plants.
So these three would be in the same category.
Okay.
And this is really important, Jenny. There's no difference in the difficulty of culture for most of these plants that people will have at home.
Okay.
There are some mammillarias that are harder.
Okay.
There are some sansevieras that are harder. There's a few other plants that are harder to grow. People who have those plants know,
Okay.
because what's happened to them?
They probably learned the hard way on some things.
And
yeah.
what do?
Right. Try again.
They die.
Oh, yes, and then they try again.
And then they try again.
Yes.
And then they figure it out and they bring one in and it's pretty good size and you go, wow, those are harder to grow.
Okay.
So an example of one would be some of the Astekiums
Okay.
are harder to grow.
Yes.
All
Notorious.
the Astekiums are harder
Yes.
to grow. So I would say it doesn't really matter on the difficulty of culture unless you have a really hard to grow plant, and then you'll get more points.
Okay.
So again, condition of the plant is still most important.
Okay.
What's the next one?
Size and degree of maturity, 15%. So the older the plant, too. The larger and the older the plant, is that
degree of
favored?
maturity, yeah. So
Yes.
why is that a thing? Why do we judge on that?
Because of the amount of time that it took to get there, I bet, right?
With a cactus, so this is really
Yeah.
great. So
Okay.
here's a great example.
Okay.
So this plant is probably about 8 years old. It's beautiful. This plant is probably 12, 15, maybe
Okay,
18 years
okay.
old. Okay, so it's starting to get scarred. It's got cracks. It's got a
Okay.
whole bunch of problems.
Okay.
So as they grow older, and the more they're around, there's more potential for you to have problems.
Okay,
So
yes.
just because a plant is bigger, it's not really better
Okay.
unless you're able to keep it really nice.
Okay.
So it's harder to get them nice and bigger. Because if you looked at these Copiapoas over here,
Oh,
so
you all.
these Copiapoas, if you look at them, like there's, oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
awful. So if I was looking for, and here's some Cinereas, there's like
Okay.
4 Cinereas in a row. So if I was going to show one of those Cinereas, this one is the oldest one.
Okay.
But this one here has got more beautiful spines and it's very vibrantly growing.
Okay.
But it's got all these defects.
Right.
All right? And that one's got a bunch of defects. And this one here's about the same age as the one back there, but that one is almost perfect. So if I was going to put one in the show, I'd do that. But does anybody really want to see that plant?
Yes?
No.
Nobody does.
They don't want to see that.
They want the character.
Nobody wants to see that. Okay. So a very small amount is the size and degree of
Okay.
maturity. So bottom line, Jenny, should people bring in their small, well-grown plants?
I would still say yes.
Because
I see.
condition of
yeah,
the
I
plant
see
is
what you're
very
saying.
important.
So you're saying the size and degree of maturity, if you have that, that's great.
That's great.
But
So
it's
bigger
only
is better.
15% of the
Right.
Yeah, of the score.
So if I was comparing Eriocyces, and
Mm-hmm.
these were in the same category, these 3 plants,
Right.
okay, so the condition of that plant is very good.
right. It's
It's
practically
better than
perfect.
these 2.
I see. So just because this is smaller of these three doesn't necessarily mean that this is not showable.
Right.
Because the condition of the plant, you know, counts for 50% of the score.
Right. But we need to do something different. What's the last one there?
Oh, staging and presentation, 10%. This is actually some of my favorite parts. I love staging plants.
Think of it this way, 50%. So if you
Yeah.
get 5 points for having a well-grown plant, and they're all equally difficult, we'll throw in those extra 25 points. The size and degree of emergency is 1.5 points.
Yeah.
So you've already got 7.5.
Right.
This only adds 1.5.
Yeah.
This adds another 1 point.
Right.
So it's a very small amount. But
Interesting.
what if people bring in 2 plants that are both well grown
Yes.
and one's not staged or not cleaned?
Is that make or break?
That can make or break
I
it.
see.
Okay.
But it's saying that if you've got a nice plant, but you don't have the pot or the top dressing and all of that stuff, and let's say you didn't have time, you're preparing for this at last minute, you're like, okay, I've got a great plant, but I don't have time to stage it, still bring it in. Still bring it in because the other criteria actually are weighted heavier than just this last part, which is the staging and presentation.
So again, what do we need to do now? We need to go pick a plant to bring in. So I encourage everybody there to do what?
Pick your favorite plant.
Go find that plant. Okay, so something you said was really important. So now we have to clean our plants. So say you want to bring this in, you want to bring it in this pot.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to clean it.
Okay.
How hard is it to clean? It's in a plastic pot.
Yeah.
We go like this, wipey wipe, like that.
So this is a case where, let's say you didn't have time or you're not ready to repot it. You could just clean up the the nursery pot that it's sitting in, make the pot look nice and clean, and you can bring it in,
Take
right?
one over here in the sun.
Yeah.
So you see, you just clean it up.
Yeah.
You could bring that in.
Okay.
But what's a better thing to do?
I know the answer to this one, I think. Okay, so we're actually going to show you an example of repotting. This is an Areocyst.
It is. It's bulba calyx.
Oh, this is one of my dream plants. Okay, step one, we're going to pick one of these pots. Are these the ones that we're going to use?
You can pick whichever one you like.
Okay, so let's take a look. What would Jenny pick if
You
she
can actually
wanted
drop
to-
it in if you want.
Let's see.
You'll be able to pull them out of all of them.
These all look, I recognize, is this AZ Veronica makes?
Yes, it is.
Aha, everybody on my audience knows who that is. This is one of Veronica's pots. I love Veronica's pots. Oh, what do y'all think? Ooh, that's nice. I'm gonna pick Veronica's pot.
Excellent.
So one of the rare
perfect.
times for me to be in front of a camera. So Cliff just brought me a whole bowl of potting mix. And then I'm gonna take this one guy and I'm gonna wiggle it out. I cannot believe you're letting me do this. This is how I do it. Is that okay?
Yeah, and don't hurt your hand if you want to use this cloth. There you go.
Already out.
Well, that came out very easy.
Yeah, so you see it's beautiful. Oh, look at that root ball. Oh my goodness. So then I'm going to take the pot, which he has, it's kind of hard to see it, probably a little dark, but there's a screen at the bottom of the pot because there are holes at the bottom for drainage, and that just stops the soil from falling out. Now let's see how this fits in here. Oh, not bad, not bad. And then now I'm just going to fill in the space, which I'm probably going to make a little bit of a mess. The space with some soil. And I know you've got some tools over there. Yes. So Cliff has some chopsticks here. Y'all know that I use barbecue skewers and stuff, but they're really all probably about the same thing. So I'm just gonna fill it up to where the top of the soil had ended from the original pot. Kind of clean this up a little bit. Okay, if I were to do it, that's about as far as I would go and leave some space for the top dressing to be put in.
All right, what kind of top dressing? We have a few choices here today. Which one of those do you think you want to use?
Oh, let's see. So, Is this decomposed granite?
It is.
It is. I have always loved decomposed granite. I think this goes with almost everything. This is really nice too.
That is also decomposed granite.
Is it it's a slightly different color. I think this one's a little more golden, it's a more white. And then you've got, what is this?
That is a nice brown topping.
Oh, oh my gosh.
I use that in my lithops a lot.
Oh, gosh, this is really nice too. I'm gonna go with this one. Just feel like the tone kind of blends in with the pot. So I'm gonna bring this over here, and then I'll do this so that the top dressing, because I'm gonna drop it, and if it falls into the soil pot, then we won't be able to separate it. So all I'm doing is filling in the rest of the space with the top dressing. Makes it look nice, and also when you're watering, it kind of helps the soil stay in the pot instead of being blasted out by a can or a hose. For those of you who saw my show and sale video from 2023, I think there's somewhere in the video I say, oh, of course it's Cliff's plant. Well, now you know who Cliff is.
And I think one of the nice things is I have seen hundreds of spectacular plants from many, many, many growers throughout our club. And I'm always amazed at the skills that people have, and many times growing plants that I cannot grow. So bring those plants in, folks.
Yes.
Love seeing them.
For those of you who may have never brought in a plant to a show, don't be intimidated. I did it last year without knowing anything. I ended up coming home with a few ribbons, which was like super fun. Don't be intimidated. For those of you who are members or will be members, the drop-off day is Wednesday, May 15th. And then I'll go look up the time that you can drop off, and I'll put a screenshot up on the screen. But on the 15th, that's the day that you'll drop off your plants at the Desert Botanical Garden. And then the show will be open to the public from that Friday through Sunday, so May 17th through 19th. And if you can't drop off your plants on the 15th, I'll leave some more information on what you can do and who to contact if you need to drop off your plants at another time. I think I got it.
Yes, I noticed that Jenny is very meticulous. Throw that soil in. You can be done with this in moments if you're in a hurry. Trust me. So Jenny does very careful work, so it's great. Thank you, Jenny.
So we have another example for you all. So the previous Areosis, we had taken it out of the pot because we were ready. We were okay with that. But let's say you have a plant that you really want to show, some favorite plant, but it's just not at a time period, or maybe you're not ready to take it out of the pot, but you do want to show it. So what can you do to make it look nice?
Look at that pot.
Oh, it's like...
Can we clean that pot?
Out. Oh, this is a little tough, huh?
No, we could never clean that pot.
Yeah. So let's say you want to show this plant, but you can't clean this pot. What do? You don't want to take it out of the pot. So the first thing that Cliff was showing me is there were some spent flowers on this plant, so we could take just some tweezers. He was showing me with just some tweezers and picking off the dead or the spent buds. So pretty easy. It took him literally maybe a minute. So what can you do to make this look nice then? It's a really nice trick that I actually learned from Cliff a year ago when he was demoing this. So he's got a couple pots here already selected that we can pick from, and we can pick, do we want it in here? Oh, that looks nice. Or do we want it in here? And you're gonna see what the trick is that we're gonna do without actually taking the plant out of the pot. I think I like this one because the pot just has a little bit of color to it, and the plant, and I feel like even though the pot has color to it, it doesn't overshadow the plant itself.
Perfect.
Okay.
We'll get it as level as you can.
Okay.
What topping are we going to put on there?
Let's see. Let's pick.
That'll be fine.
See how this looks. I kind of like this. I think about using this red topping. Then you just fill in.
So one of the things that I tend to do if I'm doing this is I don't want to have bleed off of my original topping. So I'll go through and I'll remove this. So just go through and just remove some of that stuff real quick. Just hold it out and just straight up and down and just flick it off so that there's no rock showing from the top.
I see. So I'm doing, just do it like this?
Yep, just flick them all off.
Okay.
Just go around the whole edge and flip them all off.
And just enough so that it doesn't show, right?
Yeah, you can shake it because there's not going to be roots in the rocks. You can just hold it upside down and shake it. Because there's not going to be holes. There's not going to be roots in those rocks.
Right, right.
It's all going to be in the dirt. And if that's been growing in that pot for a while, and folks, that's been growing in that pot for a while, it's not going to come out.
No, I don't feel it. Okay,
good.
Okay,
now we got
it.
Yeah, get that
Looks
one
good.
couple big pieces out. So now we
this
haven't
one over here.
hurt or damaged the plant in any way by
No.
removing these pieces. We've simply made it easier for us to make a nice looking plant.
Okay.
Okay, get it as flat as you can and then just pile that stuff in all around it.
Okay, so just dump it in
Pile
there?
it up.
Okay.
There you go.
Isn't this a cool trick? I didn't realize that this was a trick you could actually use without having to take the plant out of the original nursery pot.
And of course, Jenny, it's always easier if your pot's a little deeper
Yeah.
than the one you're putting it in.
Right.
But again, you want to get a pot that matches what you're trying to do, one that you like. Because if you like it, somebody else may like it. And I think one of the things we haven't really talked about, Jenny, in picking out pots, the rules talk about pots a little bit, and they talk about topping. There's a million different pots and a million different things of topping. So what's the rule around topping and pots? I think Thor knows. The topping and the pot should not distract from the plant. So when we're talking about things like that, I have a pot over there with roses on it that one of my favorite plants grew in there for years and years and years. That would be very distracting from the plant, but you may love it. It's okay to show your love for your plants, and it's okay to be different. Sometimes judges may not like that, but I always encourage people to do what
like.
makes them smile.
Right. Okay.
All right.
So I'm kind of piling it on to hide.
No, go high.
Oh, just go high. Okay.
And use your chopstick to poke it all around the top.
Okay. So what I'm trying to do, at least in my mind, is that I want to hide the nursery pot.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you can
And
see
we'll move
most of
that
it.
label later.
Okay.
Okay.
Most of it is pretty well hidden. Maybe just a little bit of finessing here and there, and
Yeah.
you won't see you can barely
Nicely
even see it.
done, and that looks nice.
Isn't that nice?
And if we were to move the label, it'll be just ready to go. We pick our size and put the label in the right spot so it looks beautiful. There's 2 warnings with this, Jenny.
Okay.
The first warning is you're going to have somebody that doesn't care about your plant moving it around.
I've had that happen before.
And they're going to move it around 6 times. So when you come in and look at your plant,
Yeah.
it's going to look
What
like that.
happened?
You're going
Right.
to cry. So is what I have done in the past is I've gone down to that soil line and actually cut the pot away. Because again, it's not hurting it.
Okay. Okay. I see what you're saying.
First warning.
Okay.
Second warning. You must not forget that you did that once already. And you need to put it back. You need to take it out of the pot when the show is over. So I have
This already. So you had this a pot inside a pot, and then it split.
It was in the show, and it split it. And at one time, there was gravel that hid it all, perfectly, because you could see how it would hide it. You can see it sticking out there. But I never took it out. It's been in there, obviously, many years afterwards. So don't forget which ones you do. Take them out when the show is over.
So the next little segment we're going to show you is about cleaning up your plants. And so Cliff actually has already prepared some tools, including some tweezers that I'm holding, that are here to help us clean a plant. And he's got this magnificent plant for us to demo to you about cleaning it. So if you just look at the plant like here, like it is now, you can see some things on here. This probably is grown outdoors. So there's going to be some debris and things in here. So you're going to want to remove it. So you can see pieces of probably a tree or something that has fallen into the plant. And so, just take some tweezers and pull those out. We won't do all of it here, but just to show you an example. But there's another thing that Cliff pointed out that's interesting is that, a lot of these mature plants are in blooming age. So you can see this plant has been very happily blooming, probably last year or earlier this year. And there's a lot of spent blooms on it. There are some active blooms. So what you want to do is to leave the active blooms alone, but you do want to clean up the old spent blooms, which come out really easily. And honestly, I actually really enjoy doing stuff like this. There's something so satisfying about pulling off old spent flowers.
And the plant looks so much better afterwards.
Yeah.
And then it has a nice sunny view to the new growing point that's going to start growing here in a little bit.
So I just showed an example of one of these heads of this beautiful plant that I just pulled all the dead spent blood. So you can see this one's been cleaned, and then here's that one that still has the old buds on it, and you can just see how clean that one is that we picked off. But you'll want to go through and just look for the little debris, and maybe there's like a gravel or a piece of rock or something, and you'll just want to remove it to make it nice and pristine for the show.
Yeah, so you talk about satisfying. So you left this leaf behind and this one and that little leaf, and then that made me crazy. Just kidding. So you want to make sure you get them all, because it's easy to do. It only takes a minute. Tweezers work good. You can use a stick and flick things out like this, but just clean the plant and get all those old dead things off. And sometimes I even get in there and
just blowing it.
Just blow it out, because some of these are hard to. Some of these things here are hard to get out, and they crush and they crumble.
Right. Yeah. And as I'm picking at it, it's falling apart and it's like turning into crumbs. But I actually find it to be very relaxing. Of just, have an afternoon where you just want to relax and put all your thoughts out of your mind and clean the plant.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna show you a quick cleaning myself.
Okay.
Of something that I do.
Okay.
So if you want to hold this, you don't have to do this, guys. If you're bringing in lithops, these are not my lithop tools. I have a great pair of tweezers that I like to use. So when I have a lithop plant like this, I'll go through and I'll remove all the old leaves like this and just rip them off completely, because these are last year's leaf pair that have dried up and given all their water to next year. And so we'll pull those all off.
Okay.
Not everybody does this, but it makes the plant, this is an old
flower.
bloom,
like
that. It makes the plant look better. And it shows off the sides of the plants, which are beautiful. So you want people to see that. So anything you have on your plant that's old and really not nice to see, cut it off.
Okay.
Pick it off.
Okay.
Remove it. Let the beauty of your plant shine through.
Okay.
So I think when you were over here, what is that?
Did you all notice that when we were looking at the tools, there's a whole set of Sharpie markers here. And you might be wondering, why do we have markers here? And we're going to show you another little trick that I didn't know about either until last year. Oh my gosh, look at this beautiful plant.
Okay. Tell me what's wrong with this plant.
Maybe just some of this coloring. Looks like otherwise it's beautiful. Oh, maybe a little bit of the scars. Looks like it may have split in the past.
Overwatering splits these. These plants do not know how to have self-control. So the question is, what do we do?
Right. So let's say I want to show this plant.
Right.
Right.
So what do we do?
I know the answer.
Tell us, Jenny.
I wonder what those markers are for. Well, you can find a marker color that kind of matches the tone of the skin of the plant, and you can draw it in.
So we're doing that because a white spot on a green plant jumps out at your eyes. So let's see what happens when we do this. So I've already started a little bit. You're going, oh, that jumps out at me, Cliff. That looks terrible. I don't like that at all.
Look at that, Joel.
Okay, so you're like, it looks like the plant is bleeding and you're killing it. Okay, so this is bright sun.
Okay.
So let's come over here, see what happens in the shade.
Okay.
So in the shade, it looks different and it's going to fade.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to overdo it. But again, that scar doesn't really jump at you because it's blended in a little bit.
I can see it kind of fading already as it's drying up.
So now, here's another thing that we want to talk about. What view of this plant looks the best?
Oh.
So one of the rules is you put your tag at the back of the plant.
Okay.
So then the judges view it from the front. And they can turn around and look at it at the back, but they're going to view it from the front first. They got a lot of plants to judge. So you don't want to have anything but your best view forward. So let's turn this a little bit.
Okay.
Usually the plants growing towards the sun have the most vibrance.
Okay.
And so you want the growing to the sun part of the plant to show. Unfortunately, with this one, we have these cracks. So what happens if I take the plant
look at that.
and I turn it like this?
Right.
Okay, so show that side. And I put my tag, say, right here.
Right.
So my tag is back here. Look at how awesome that's going to
Yeah.
be. So what is the imperfection the judges are going to see? They're going to see this one. They're going to see that one. But it's not quite as bad as
Right.
the other side.
Right.
So put your best foot forward, pick your angle.
Interesting.
Make
okay.
sense?
So
Okay.
yeah, so that's a really great tip about where to place your tag.
A lot of times, Jenny, you're going to leave your plants in the pots that they come in.
Mm-hmm.
Clay pots sometimes get
Oh,
white
yes.
stuff
Yes, all the time.
all the time.
All the time.
How do you
yeah.
handle that?
Though I don't think I've actually shown a plant in a pot that has a lot of mineral deposits and stuff from over time.
Mineral oil.
Oh.
There are other things you can use.
So that will take it off, or at least. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, look at that magic. That's magic. Oh.
It will last through the entire show.
Okay.
I like to do the whole pot.
Ooh, that's
It makes them a
great
little
tip.
slippery, but it makes the whole pot look great.
It just cleans up the entire pot.
Yep.
Oh, that looks nice.
So the same thing is true if you're just bringing a
Right.
plain clay pot.
Right.
So you get a plain clay pot, you can do the same thing
Well, that's a great trick. Yeah, now it looks
and
like
see
brand new.
how nice that pot
Yeah,
is.
that's beautiful.
And because this has been in the show many times, you can tell it actually has helped preserve the pot.
It has.
And it actually has kept it nicer. And you want to make sure you get in the rim.
Interesting tip.
So if you get in the rim like this, then the top of the pot looks good too.
And you can just buy any kind of mineral oil, or do you have a
I
preference?
just use mineral oil.
Okay.
Any mineral oil will
Any
work.
mineral oil.
I've heard that vinegar works too. I've
Okay.
never tried vinegar.
Okay.
And to use vinegar to take water stains off of plants.
Yeah.
I've never tried that. That might work.
Okay.
Okay. What do you think people should do now, Jenny?
If you're a part of the CACSS, definitely consider showing your plants or bring your plants for the show. I'll put up information again about when to drop off plants. Again, please don't be intimidated if you have never done this before. It's so much fun. It's a great way to display your favorite plants to other folks who love cactus and succulents as well. And for those of you who are not part of the CACSS, do join. Do join the membership. It is not too late to join. Just sign up. I'll put information in the video description on where you can sign up. And come join us for the show. And for those of you who are just dropping by or just interested in the show, do come by May 17th through 19th. Come see the show. Go look for the labels that have my name on it. And please do come and participate and have a lot of fun. And you might see me there wandering around with a camera by myself, talking to myself.
Like this one here is, I didn't put this out here. That's a nice Copia Poa. See, not too much damage, but you look at those others, there's all this damage all over them.